Well, hey y'all, Six Gun Slinging here, and I'm back with another video. And this time I'm going to be reviewing the Buck 112. This is a Buck 112 2-dot. This one's all original. I showed you in another video this Buck 110 2-dot, but it has a new blade. But I just got it out here to kind of give you a side-by-side comparison. But this is the sheet that comes with it, same as the other one I showed you. It's hand stamped right here, Buck. Obviously it's a little shorter for the 112, and it has that great sheet that I'm a big fan of, that has the loop way up here, so that when it hangs on your belt it doesn't poke you in the side like the new ones do. I really wish they'd go back to that design, because it's really cool. It's got the Buck stamp up here on the button. And really, if you're familiar with the Buck 110 or 112, it's the same sheet as the new ones. It's just it's a little bit better. These were American made. I believe these were made in-house by Buck during that era. You can see that it's stamped 112 right here. Oh, let me get over here. Stamped 112 right there. And I'll give you a look at the knife. And while I'm doing that, I'll tell you there's a little history on this knife for those of you that don't know. The Buck 112 was, and supposedly this story's true, but they, you know, most sailors, in fact, when I was in the Army, I carried a Buck 110, but most sailors and stuff like that all carried a Buck 110 in that era. And they, I guess two sailors got into a fight, and there was a stabbing, and so the Navy said, no, you're not allowed to carry any knife with the blade over 3 inches. So Buck 110, was obviously not going to be able to be carried anymore, and it was a really popular knife at the time. So Buck came out with this 112. That's why a lot of guys, the old school guys, before my era, but a lot of those old school guys won't carry a Buck 112, because to them it's like, you heard of gun control, it's like knife control. It's a form of knife censorship, and they're like, I ain't carrying one of those. That was made, by the people that try to control you, and they're probably right. I don't know, but anyhow, that I've always known it's just a little lighter, a little more convenient knife than the 110. It's about an inch shorter all around. The overall length is just a hair over 3 inches, and then this is 4 inches, and we'll take a look at them side by side so you can see. That's quite a bit of difference. Same with the blade. The blade on this one, obviously, after that Navy regulation, they shortened it up to 3 inches, and the Buck 110 is 4 inches. So you can get a look there and kind of see. I'll set this one aside, and we'll take a look at this. Like I said, with these older Buck models, especially the 2-dot, and I'll show you what I mean by 2-dot if I can get it to focus here. But if you look on the blade, you'll see a Buck, and then I'll have, if I can get in there, it'll have the model number, and then it'll have a dot on either side, and that indicates when this was made. Buck, you can kind of tell, because Buck didn't come out with this knife until 1974, whereas the Buck 110 was invented in 1962. Going about a little, another little tidbit. This knife was, if you watch that movie Kill Bill, the protagonist in that movie, she escaped with the Buck 112, Uma Thurman. Anyway, just a little tidbit of trivia there. You can kind of tell a lot about these older 2-dot Bucks by their pivot pins and stuff, and their bolster pins. This one has solid rosewood covers, and they are held on by these pins. Now look at the size of these pins on this one. You'll note that they're a little bigger when we compare them to the pins on this 110 buck 2.110. See how they're really smaller? That tells you that this knife was quite a bit older, and this one was a little bit later because of the size of those pins. And there's a couple other ways to tell with that. They're really nuanced in they'll look at the script, they'll look at the spacing in the script, all kinds of stuff, and that'll help you narrow down certain years. And there's some websites you can get on that really get into that, get into the weeds with all that, so to speak. I'll give you a look around the knife. It's very well built. Like I talked about on the buck 110, it has a solid brass frame. It's just one big chunk of brass, and then the knife is set into it, and then they attach these beautiful rosewood covers. I play guitar. Rosewood has been used on guitars for many years, you know, including my Martin guitar, Fender Stratocaster. Everybody has used that rosewood for the fingerboards because it's incredibly durable and strong, you know. And obviously on a guitar, a fingerboard gets a lot of use with steel strings being pushed up and rubbed up against it, and it has to last. So I guess that's why Buck chose the material. But what's really interesting in a knife guitar comparison is that Buck Knives has now partnered with Taylor Guitars, and there's a Taylor Guitars partners with a company over in Africa called Krilicam, and they make ebony, but they do it, I guess, in some kind of sustainably harvested way where it's environmentally friendly or friendlier, and it provides jobs for poor people over there in Africa, and they harvest sustainable wood, ebony wood. And so Buck partnered in the scraps that Taylor uses when they make their fingerboards, which are made out of ebony, which is an incredibly dense, durable wood. They use those scraps, and they partnered with Buck, and Buck takes those scraps and now turns them into knife handles. So that's a little tie-in with the guitars and knives, two of my favorite things. You'll notice that this one is not polished up either, just because I use it. I use all of them. I prefer carrying the Buck 110, but I've been carrying it for the last 2 months, but I'm gonna switch over to this guy, this 112, just for the heck of it, and I'll carry it around for a while because that's just kind of what I do. But you'll notice it snaps. It's got a great lockup. It locks up, and it locks up like a bank vault. There is zero movement. You can notice, we'll take a look at if I can get it to focus here. We'll take a look at the blade. You can look at the grind lines, and you'll see how it's real smooth up in here, the transitions. And I don't remember the type of steel. I think it was 420M or some type of other steel. But then we're going to look at this blade, which, even though it's an older Buck 2-dot, it's got a brand new blade. So see how the lines are much crisper on the new blades? The blade itself is from about 2020 on this knife. And you'll notice that it has a lot crisper lines, you know, the way they mill it and stuff like that. Whereas we'll look at the old 2-dot blade on this 112, and you'll notice it has more of a melted appearance, because that's the way they did their steel back then. This steel, you can sharpen it. I've got the razor edge on this one, but it does take a little bit more to get this thing sharp. You should really do this anyway, but on any of your pocket knives, it's a lot better to maintain a sharp edge than it is to have to sharpen it till it's dull and resharpen it. And also, resharpening shortens the life of your blade, so you don't really want to do that. You don't want to be sharpening your knives all the time. If you can just maintain them, and I'll show you what I mean. This is just a kind of an inexpensive strop that I got from a Knife Ship Free a few years back. I use it all the time. I got the compound. Right now I'm on the gray side. I'm just going to give you an example of how to strop your knife. You can take your blade, lay it flat, to where it moves freely, and then raise it up and just till it catches. And then when it catches, you lower it just a little bit more, and then you push down with just a gentle motion, and you go backwards, and that'll strop up the blade. And we do the same thing over here. It catches right there. See, it's free flowing. It catches, then we just go a little bit below where it caught, and we push down just a hair, and we follow through, and we sharpen that whole knife, and that's called stropping. And what that does is, on the edge of your knife, you know, say my fingers are the edge of your knife, you'll have little, right up here at the top, well, I'll just do it on the blade, right up here at the top, that blade will fold over a little bit. Real microscopic. It's still sharpened cuts, but it'll have a little fold. And so what you're doing is you're knocking off, they call it a wire edge, and you're knocking off that little edge and realigning the metal. Now it's all real microscopic, but you realign the metal to where it's all in line. And eventually, like if you've ever taken a piece of metal and bent it back and forth, you know it breaks. That's the same with that little wire edge on the knife. You can straighten it on both sides, straighten it one way, straighten it the other way, and you keep doing that, it'll eventually come off. And at some point you'll need to resharpen your knife, but you can go a long time just stropping it if you just keep it maintained. Even when you're skinning a deer or something like that, you don't need to resharpen your knife. You just need to carry a strop, clean the blood and the gunk off it, and then strop it up, and then go back to working on your deer for a while, and then, you know, take a break, clean the knife up, dry it, strop it, and go back to it. And you'll get through all your deer. Even if you and a friend of yours got a couple deer, you can get through all of them with just one knife if you maintain them like that. Now this knife, because of their old steel, it holds a fantastic edge. It actually holds an edge a lot better than the old, than the new 110 blades. And that's not because, Buck has to strike a balance. They have to strike a balance between what is a steel that'll maintain an edge and what is a steel that's easy to sharpen, and they have to balance between the two. Buck knives, they take their steel really seriously, and then more importantly, they also take their heat treat really seriously. And Paul Bose, who is the BOS, he's the guy that's responsible for all the heat treatment on Buck. Even though he's retired, they still use his proprietary process. Buck is able, and have always been able, to elevate their steels to much higher performance because of that heat treat. And everybody, what's that guy's name, Tobias Gibson, that guy, he's on YouTube. He released a video getting all excited because somebody demanded that they have S30V blades and they should just put it across all their whole line, and he was getting all mad about it. Yeah, but that's fine, but I'm kind of with Tobias on that, is that you would really just start jacking up the price and keep these knives out of the hands of ordinary Americans that can afford them, because they sell these knives at Walmart. Not this one anymore. You can't get these square handled ones. And you see, if you look, you'll notice that the handles are all squared off. I don't have one in front of me, but I've got several. But the newer ones are all rounded off. But anyway, they sell Buck 110 still at Walmart. And it doesn't come with the leather sheet to save money. It'll come with the nylon sheet. But what that does is it's the same quality knife with the same lifetime guarantee. Same knife made in the USA. And what that does, it gives ordinary Americans, working men, the chance to get a Buck 110, but get it at a reasonable price. So you're getting a USA made, very high quality knife. Now Buck has not diminished in their quality by any means. A lot of companies have, including case knives. Some might argue. I love case knives still, but Buck has not sacrificed their quality. They still make a fantastic knife. It's still a family-run business. It's still a USA business. And they listen to their customers. In fact, Buck moved a lot of their small pocket knives to overseas production, one of them being the 303 Cadet and a couple knives like that. And there was so much outcry, they said, you know what, screw it, we're going to bring them all back. And they did. So Buck is a great company. They're always moving forward. Now Buck is cool, like case knives. They have got into the modern knife market. Buck has just come out. There was a Buck 184 that was a Navy SEAL knife, and they're collector's knives now. But Buck has the updated version which is still, even now, that new version is approved for Navy SEAL use. And they got modern folders, and they got all the great steels, S30V. I don't know if they did an S90V, but they've done a lot of stuff. They made this Buck 110 in a very high carbon steel. It's a limited run, but what they really stuck to is this tried and true 420 formulation. And the reason they keep doing that, and it's been so successful, is it's affordable. They get incredible performance out of it because of that heat treat. So you are not getting an inferior steel when you buy a Buck 110 or a Buck 112. You can't get these squared off handles no more, but you're still getting a great knife. Like I said, there's not much to say other than this is about an inch shorter all around than a Buck 110. But it has a substantially different feel. I don't know, it seems silly, but it feels more controllable. And that I didn't get the weights on them. Sorry, y'all. You can look that stuff up. But the weight on your belt, this feels like significantly lighter. It's plenty of knife to do every single thing that you need to do. Some people say this is greater for people with smaller hands. I don't know. It's the same dimensions as a Buck 110. It's just a little shorter, so I don't know if that's true. But it is a little more handy. And it is a little lighter on your belt. And for most people, they just get it because it's a part of their collection, I love the 110 because I got a lot of history with it, more so than the 112. But I love this 112. I got this particular one, I guess I just want to say sometime in 1990, I'm thinking that I got this one. But anyway, it's a really great knife. It's held up good since I got it. This one was made, I think, around 1974, 75, if I remember correctly, when we try to look all that stuff up. But anyway, it's a really great knife. If you're thinking about getting one, do. They are really handy. It's a smaller little version. I think you ought to have both. I think you ought to get a Buck 110 and a 112. Just because they're really cool to have in your collection. Anyway, I just want to go over the Buck 112 and my 2-dot in particular, my 2-dot Buck 112. Let y'all take a look at it. I'll give you another comparison here to the Buck 110, and that's kind of the difference here, so that you can move it up here, so you can get a size comparison and see if I'll put tip to tip here, to see if the 112 might be better suited for you. Like I said, they're not super expensive, so why not get both? The 112s are harder to find though. Like, I don't know if you can just walk in Walmart and get a 112. I think you got to kind of order them from some places. What I would think is cool, and what I'm thinking about doing myself, I got a couple of custom Buck 110s. I'll do a review on them later, but you might want to get on Buck's website and check it out. You can order a custom Buck 112 for not that much. And if you want S30V, if you want antler, if you want some of that stuff, well, you can do that. And you can get a really cool knife that has all the specs. You can get nickel silver bolsters. You can get all kinds of stuff. So I recommend you check them out. Anyway, that's just been an overview. If you like what I'm doing, I'd really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. And tell me which Buck you're carrying around. Tell me if you got a Buck 112. And other than that, we will catch y'all down the road.